Recently, the Joy Youth Council, IYC, called for the inauguration of a new board for Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, warning that failure by the federal government to do so would lead to a protest by Ijaw youths and other stakeholders in the oil-rich Niger Delta region. However, the agitation for the reconstitution, even, of the NDDC board did not go down well with other interested parties in the region. According to persons opposed to the protest, they were displeased over incessant attacks by the leadership of the IYC and other organizations against the management of the NDDC and the Minister of Delta Affairs, Senator Godswill Akpabio. Joining us from our Abuja studios to throw more light on the discordant tunes over the commission is the Special Assistant on Youth and Sports to Interim Administrator of NDDC and former Secretary General of IYC Worldwide, Udengs Eradiri. Welcome to the show, Mr. Eradiri. Good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Abati. Good to see you again. I was not just Secretary General, but also President of the Joint
Yes, I corrected that earlier.
Yes.
It's fine. It's good to see you. Now, I mean, your colleagues in the Joy Youth Council, they've given the federal government a 1-month ultimatum to constitute the board of the Niger Delta Development Commission. And that if that does not happen, they will shut down the entire Niger Delta region. Well, that deadline, that notice of action has already gone beyond 1 month. But what are the issues really involved? You are working with Mr. Efyong Akwa, who is the current administrator of the NDDC. What exactly are the issues, and what do you think the federal government should do?
Well, I think, first of all, when the NDDC was established, it was meant to deal with developmental challenges in the Niger Delta. And since it was established over the years, there's a lot that have bedeviled the NDDC to the point where it had become a tool for political aggrandizement rather than dealing with the issues of development. So when this administration came into place, the leaders of the Niger Delta governors met with the president and insisted that there should be an investigation of the activities of the NDDC. And then the president obliged and began the forensic exercise that is a bone of contention today. Truly, people are not happy because, the NDDC is like everybody in the Niger Delta has this entitlement mentality towards the NDDC. And of course, the role the Joy Youths have played over the years. In the creation of the NDDC itself, the Joy Youths played very frontal roles. And so at all points, you cannot wash away the interest of the Jaws when it comes to the NDDC in the Niger Delta. However, there are issues bordering on corruption. There are issues bordering on the NDDC not delivering on its mandate. And the Niger Delta leaders met with the president and asked for the forensic exercise. Now, people keep confusing the forensics with the others. I was on the other side also when I was president. I was saying that you can actually set up a board while the forensic is going on. But we can't liken this to that of the NNPC. In the NNPC, the kind of forensic they do there is for an activity to say from this period to this period we sold oil and we didn't get the proceeds, so let's investigate that. But in this case, we are looking at the holistic organogram, the functionality of the NDDC itself. And so when the forensic started, the president felt that if you set up a board, the board will interfere because truly, Uncle Ruben, if you look at what have transpired in the past, it will be very difficult to find politicians who do not have one affiliation or the other with the activities that have happened in the NDDC. And so in order for us to have an unbiased process, the president said, let us get experts and set up an interim leadership that will manage the process. And don't forget that the prerogative to appoint is in the Constitution solely for the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and that he can appoint in acting capacity. So the President appointed several interim managements until this particular one. The bone of contention here is people are saying we must set up the board, we must set up the board. Yes, the board will be set up, but when the forensic examiners went in, they were overwhelmed by what they met on ground. In fact, first of all, we had the COVID-19 that affected the forensic process. We had budgetary issues. The National Assembly said there was no budget. It dragged on until the presidency had to take the funding out of the Niger Delta Ministry to deal directly with the forensic examiners. As I speak to you, 2 reports have been submitted. 2 interim reports have been submitted to the president, and the forensic examiners are in the field now to identify those projects. If you said you have done over 20,000 projects on paper, can you show us where those sites are? And don't forget that most of the forensic experts that went to the field were molested. And so the president inaugurated the security team to support them. As I speak to you, they are in the field. Our people need to understand what's going on. That this forensic is not just about who took money and didn't do what, but the entire organogram of the NDDC. If you go and appoint a board the way it is today, you will still have the same problems. But look, let me give you a scenario. We all have been talking about devolution of powers through federalism. But here in the NDDC, there is a kind of unitary system that is operating to the point where if an MD comes from a particular state, over 80% of projects will be taken to a state, forgetting that the access production quantum. So what we are looking at, and what the forensic report will be looking at, is how do we devolve this to the point where we have state reps. By the time there's a chairman who comes to the table, they agree on the budget, the National Assembly passes it. Those funds must go to the states so that you will be dealing directly at the state level. Today, if you have 1 million naira as monies owed you from Ondo State, you have to travel to Port Harcourt in order to get your money paid. And sometimes for 1 million naira, you don't get paid for 4, 5, 6, 10 years, as the case may be. There is a lot that is going wrong in the NDDC that needs to be corrected, but you need the forensic exercise to go through the entire gamut of the NDDC in order to advise the leadership properly. And let me tell you, in the last 25 years, we have had boards. We have seen all what have transpired in the NDDC. People keep blaming the minister. The minister cannot be blamed. In fact, I will say that the minister have come and changed the narrative in the Niger Delta. For 25 years, we have been paying rent. This minister came in 2019, and the following week, he visited the site where they had abandoned just to fourth floor. Today, in less than 2 years, we have a facility of 12 floors, an edifice that every Niger Deltan is proud of. Within 2 years, we have had boards for 25 years. Go and see the road on the work that is going on the East-West Road. For the past 10 years, we have not seen this kind of work from Akwa Ibom to Bayelsa. Because, of course, from part of Bayelsa to Delta axis have been 95% completed. So if you see the value that have come to the table today, we have over 70 projects to be commissioned without giving 1 naira. These are people who had collected monies in the past, and for the fear of the forensic exercise, have all gone back to site, and we are commissioning projects. Not too long ago, my boss, Barrister Efong Akwa, have been going around commissioning the projects that ordinarily were abandoned. So my take with the IYC, I was president of the Joy Youth Council. As leaders, a leader must interrogate issues properly before you move your people. And you know our people in the Niger Delta, once leadership have said this is the way to go, no, it is difficult for you to redirect them. But we are doing our best. We have a situation where the leadership of the IYC did not engage. In the university, we were taught 3 C's. You consult, you consolidate, before you confront. But you just jump to confrontation. You will never be right. You will never get it right. Not too long ago, the Minister for Niger Delta met with the IYC leadership. And immediately they came out from the meeting, the tone changed because they were able to discuss and hear from the minister what actually was going on. I want to tell you, Uncle Labati, what is happening is that most contractors will know that the interim report have highlighted most of their interests, and the abuses that they have brought upon the Niger Delta are the ones that are doing this. People are sharing 3,000 on the streets for people to go and block the road. As of today, the Joy Youth Council have called off any form of protest in the Niger Delta. Anybody going to do such protest is not doing it under the auspices of the IYC. The leadership of the Joy National Congress, the former presidents of the Joy Youth Council are going to be meeting today to review holistically the entire scenario that have happened in the region.
I just want to come in here now.
The other day we saw another statement.
May I interject?
Yes.
Sorry. I have to point out to you, though, that the NDDC Establishment Act, Section 2, says there shall be a board. So whether or not it's politically, economically, or otherwise expedient, a board is required. But my question for you is exactly what should be done now before the tension that you've alluded to explodes into violence that has been threatened?
Okay, the Act, yes, said there's a board. Nobody is in contention with that. But when there are circumstances, the Constitution says the President shall appoint in acting capacity pending the constitution of the board. And it's not the first time it's happening in the NDDC. There is an issue. And so the President have exercised that right of appointing a management team. There's no vacuum in the NDDC. Everything is working accordingly. But the only area here is that inclusion, that entitlement mentality that our people all have in the Niger Delta, which is their right. Because ordinarily we should have had somebody from Delta, somebody from Rivers, somebody from Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, so that the people feel that sense of belonging. But I think those are issues that are left for the leadership to look at. What we are doing now is that we are engaging. We have started engagement with leaders. I know that with the engagement that we are doing, the ministry have already said that by July, we are in June already. July is just a few days from where we are. If we have waited for 25 years, except there's something beneath that we are not seeing, there's nothing wrong. If we have waited 25 years to get this far, the last 2 years we have not had a board, and yet things have been happening. Of course, we will be able to wait. And that is the message that we are taking to leaders, calling for calm. And let me also tell you, much as the Ijaw youths are on the streets, there are still Ijaw leaders, Ijaw youths, who believe that this forensic must conclude before the board is appointed. So there's a divided house. There are already a majority in other ethnic nationalities who believe that, look, we need to get to the root of what have been bedeviling the growth of the Niger Delta via the activities of the NDDC. And so it's not because people have not come out in solidarity to rally support that we think that people are not in support.
Okay.
Yes, we are engaging.
Udengs Eradiri. Let's take a short commercial break. And then when we return, the conversation will continue. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to the morning show here on the Arise News channel. Still with us is Udengs Eradiri, former president of the Ijaw Youth Congress Worldwide and currently special assistant to the sole administrator of the Niger Delta Development Company. Well, Udengs, before we went on break, I interrupted you. If you could just conclude your thoughts before we move on to the next set of questions.
Okay, I think generally we are appealing to the youths of the Niger Delta to exercise patience, that Senator Godswill Akpabio, the Minister for Niger Delta, means well. Barrister Effiong Akwa is doing a lot to better the lives of the Niger Delta people. And whatever the issues are things that we can sit on the table to discuss. So it's not enough to destroy our environment. A statement came out the other day asking oil companies to leave. Come on, we are having issues with the NDDC where federal government have not been able to live up to its obligation in terms of its statutory allocation to the NDDC to the tune of over 3 trillion. They are owing the NDDC, they have not paid. It is the remittance from the IOCs that the NDDC is using to do the projects that we can see today. The scholarships and all the things that we are seeing is the remittance from IOCs. So if you come up with a statement to say IOCs should leave the region, come on. It is the same region we are saying that we need IOCs to come in so that the economy can be robust enough to employ young people. Then on the other breath, we are saying that the IOCs should leave. I think that it is the quality of leadership that we are presenting today that is a problem. And that's why I keep warning that our leadership selection process, be it governorship, be it youth organizations, be it community leadership, we must interrogate it properly so that the kind of products that we get at the end of the tunnel are those who are properly bred, that have the capacity, that is educated, that is informed enough to source for information before you feed your followers. We have a very angry followership in Nigeria today, that once a leader comes and spews negativity, the energy will be negative that will come out. Once we have positive energy from leadership, you will see the kind of productive ventures that young people will provide. And so if we don't have the right leadership, we will start having the kind of problems we are having. A leader must sit down and articulate. I was IYC president. I did not go to NDDC. I rather went to their project sites with the media. Those records are there to look at the projects. They are projects that are crisscrossing the Niger Delta that would have changed the lives of our people. And yet those projects have been abandoned. If this energy was channeled to those projects, by now we would have had those projects moving. There are hostels in universities in the Niger Delta that it is when this current administration came in that Barrister Effiong Akwa have been going around university campuses to inspect those projects. As I speak to you, the mobilization for the contractors to go back to site and complete those projects. Because if we don't complete a project, a hostel project in the university, and a student who ordinarily should have been on campus stays off campus, there are a lot of distractions that sometimes lead to cultism, prostitution, and all the kind of social vices that our people have been exposed to. So not completing hostels on campus is a direct affront on the welfare of the people. So these are things that if the energy the youths are using today, they channel to some of these kind of ventures, we would have made so much progress rather than going to disrupt activities, destroy economic ventures in the region.
You see, I'm happy you use the word entitlement mentality. And the truth is, a lot of those young people, what they are protesting against is the fact that when somebody gets in there to the Niger Delta, it becomes about them and their people alone. Some people watching you now across Niger Delta will say, oh, it's easy for him to say this because he's now with them in the Niger Delta. So that's really the problem. The fact that the development doesn't trickle down across board. A lot of people have argued that even the oil major, the IOCs that are giving the Niger Delta Development Commission money are not happy about how the money is being used. So a lot of people will say, what you're saying today on television is sour grapes. It's because you're part of them. It's because you're part of them now. That's why it's easy for you to say this. How can we make this trickle down? We've had many variations of this same commission. The first time that the Niger Delta Development Board was talked about was in the 1963 Constitution. So it's not been a conversation on ground now. It's been since then. Then now we had UNPADEC, now it's changed. But the problem has not changed. How can the problem that people talked about in 1963 that was even put in the Constitution that there shall be a Niger Delta Development Board, nothing has changed. So they say the factor is the people that are running the place, and you don't make this development trickle down. That's what they are saying. I put that to you today.
Can I respond to that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you see, thank you for this memory lane. We need to give kudos to Mr. President. It is because of these reasons you have raised that the president came up with a forensic exercise. Don't forget that in the past, be it PDP or APC, NDDC and most of these our institutions have been used to settle politicians. A politician failed an election, you give him NDDC. What are you expecting? A politician wants to go and contest a governorship, you ask him to go and be MD of NDDC. What are you expecting? It's what is happening. But thank God that the president has said, yes, this institution have not served its purpose. Going forward, let us find out why. Is it that we are appointing politicians? Okay, the report, look at it. If it comes up that appointing politicians is the reason why we have over 25 years have not made progress, let us begin to look at technocrats. If it is that the person will take an oath that he will not contest election, those are the recommendations we are looking at. So if we have all complained, we have all suffered in the past, and now we want to make progress, it is important that we wait to say, let's get the report. The recommendations of that report will determine how we move forward. And I agree. A lot of people have said, Udengs, you are here now, you are talking. Because when I was outside, I was blind. I didn't see it. Now I'm inside. I can see the issues. Look, people are shouting. If you see the report, it is not Northerners that have plundered the resources of the region. It is Niger Delta people who are the contractors, who abandoned the projects, who took monies and married more wives and bought cars. This complaint we are complaining, is it part of our struggle? Our struggle is about justice and equity. Our own people are the ones who mess the place. And we know that they are the ones sending money because their names are coming out. So the truth is, let us allow the president's goodwill to have set up the forensic process so that that process will tell us how to go forward. People say we should appoint the board. How do you appoint a board in the middle of the process? So the board comes in, already the 2023 drums are beating, so you see all the interest. Don't forget 2 years ago, a board was set up based on a lot of interest. And you saw how the whole thing went until eventually the president withdrew that list. There is 2023. Almost all the areas in Nigeria where people believe that they can put their hand and collect resources, you will begin to see crisis. If you are not seeing in MPA, you are seeing in NDDC, the next thing you begin to see in other places. Why are there not other institutions in the Niger Delta? Just recently, they have just done marginal fields now. What role did our people play to ensure that more of our people participate in that process? Is it because the money will not come out immediately?
Yes. We have just about 2 minutes to go. But before we go, I want you to help clarify a number of issues. Yes, it is true that the IYC has suspended the protest. They did so on May 28. But one of their original complaints is that without a board, the youths of the Niger Delta are being denied empowerment. Is it the case that the sole administrator, Effiong Akwa, is not empowering the youths? Empowering, you know, when we use that word in Nigeria, you know what it means. So is this a fault on the part of Akwa? Now, after the protest was suspended, government General Tumpolo, has also told the federal government that he's giving them 7 days ultimatum. And he thinks that the board, the forensic audit is being used as an excuse to deny contractors payments. And in his own case, he's blaming Minister Godswill Akpabio. Quickly, could you respond to that?
Okay. I think that the issue of empowerment is relative. If you follow our activities, we're in Innocent. We had lined up the training of young people in vehicle manufacturing. The Bonny Train 7 process is already on. The football programs, talent hunt, we had put all that in place. But you see, there is this procurement process that the NDDC must go through, which for me, I think that is part of the problems bedeviling it. If you call it an interventionist agency, then it must be exempted from those processes. It must go through procurement process. You know the procurement laws. Sometimes it takes 3 months for a process to go through. When I initially came in, I was so excited. I thought that quickly you can package these things and engagement will begin. But along the line, we were now stopped to say no, go back to the procurement process. So if you follow our activities, I had a Zoom engagement about last week where I tried to educate the young people about what was actually transpiring. In no distant time, these things will begin to materialize. Don't also forget the forensic process that is going on. It's also impeding some of the things that we should do. Monies that are meant for the NDDC are locked down in an EFCC account over some remittances that came in from the IOCs. And so the NDDC is not getting the funding as at when due and how it should be. So a lot of all these factors are militating against it. But you see, there are so many contractors. The last leadership awarded for only the silting alone over 1.4 trillion. And these are contracts that have been signed into law. By the time you get monies, you have to pay those obligations. By the time you go in, you find out that the money that has come in is not enough. Well, truly, I agree that probably we on the part of leadership must also look at how we juggle these things so that those in the grassroots can also get their payments. And I think that those areas will be looked into at the leadership level. The issue of the Tompolo, for me, till now, I'm carried aback. I have not spoken to him, but I don't think that for his issue, I don't think that Tompolo will make such a statement because that's politics. The prerogative is the president's own. So trying to twist the president, I don't think it's a good idea. But we will reach out and engage and ensure that some of these things are nipped in the bud.
Yes, on that note, we'd like to thank you very much for joining us on the morning show today. Thank you, indeed.